Al pie del Ávila majestuoso, a 920 metros sobre el nivel del mar, en un valle de verde geografía que se abre de este a oeste, surge Caracas, la capital de Venezuela.
And now, our feature presentation.
You are watching a master at work.
Go get some!
What's going on, fellas? My name is Rafael Yacine Montilla, as known as El Capitan Rafucho, and welcome to another episode of The Combat Club, because in this club, we're born to fight anytime, anywhere, anytime, because this is a podcast with 100% extreme attitude, ladies and gentlemen. And right now, it is a Tuesday night, folks, so we're getting ready. We're getting ready because right now we have a special guest because we're going to talk about the UFC Shanghai review and, of course, why Islam Makhachev says that the United States is lacking of champions for UFC. So right now, let's give it a proper welcome to the one and only West Coast Radio, the MMA Homies Podcast, because we're getting late with this Tuesday night vibe. So how's it feeling right now? Because right now we're getting excited because I know this week there's no UFC fights, but in September it will be.
I was going to ask you, do you watch the Dana White Contender Series?
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Because I think tonight is the Dana White Contender Series.
Yeah, it is. Because speaking about Dana White Contender Series, because if you watch the interview that I just made with Incredible Hulk, which is available on YouTube, and it was just like very surprising because after watching the Dana White Contender Series, which is last week, and right now I'm just watching right now because they have a lot of young talent and prospects, and there's like a few persons who didn't get a chance to go to the MMA or even to the UFC because there's a lot of people who wants to like to build it out like a fight.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that it's back, and even like a week right now where we're not going to have a UFC fight this weekend, we still get a Dana White Contender Series fights on a Tuesday. So I mean, that's exciting.
Yes, exactly right now. All right, so make sure to subscribe to Capitan Rafucho on YouTube. Also, you can follow me on every social media at Capitan Rafucho, Instagram at Capitan Rafucho 93, and of course, if you want to help to support the stream, you can make a donation on Cash App or PayPal. So right now, let's just talk about Johnny Walker versus Sean McGann, because right now it is very important to see like the main card all over for the 6 a.m. Eastern time, 3 a.m. Pacific time. But between for like Johnny Walker, I mean, they had to distribute the top of the mouth for the first round, but they have literally get out of his hand right now because they just shocked the entire world because everybody thought that Sean McGann could handle it so much easier against Johnny Walker, but I don't think it's gonna be like the end because he improves a lot once he learned how to defend calf kicks because the other calf kicks was doing great, but Walker just landed for like a bunch of pretty leg kicks in the round number one. But they don't want to hear like the commentary, but I think they would compromise by like the round number two because they always love to see like the underdog pull through, especially when the people are getting me or taking like the piss, but he fucked out, legged out right and proper, but they see like the turnover with the kicker because you gotta love Johnny Walker. Not only with those dances, but he's been looking at the paradise many times and he keeps coming back for more because he had a Walker mentality, just like a warrior mentality, but he's always a crazy motherfucker.
Yeah, yeah. I think Chang is Chang, right?
Yeah, Shammy
he,
Shing.
yeah, he was favored, I believe, in the fight. I mean, he was favored to win. Johnny Walker was the underdog. And then Johnny Walker's career is like this. I don't know what Johnny Walker I'm going to get when he comes to fight, you know? Because sometimes he looks bad. Sometimes he looks good like he did this weekend, you know? So he did get back in the win column. He got back in the good graces of the UFC. Because I think if he would have lost this fight, he would have been pushed out of the top 15. We don't know where he would have been. So he needed that win. He really needed that win. And he got the knockout, so it's a very electrifying win too. So that you know speaks volumes.
Yeah, it's speaking a lot of them, but I know that he right there before because I know that Makhachev that just won against Johnny Walker, but I know that he was like very important because I was gonna be like a really confident. I was gonna be like a really confident because he just wanted to shut him down because he's had a brother, which is Walter Walker.
Mm-hmm.
But it's gonna be like a really ridiculous coming up there. And he was moving out for the number 12 in the latest light heavyweight rankings update. And Shami Gun trumps to number 15. Right now, he's in the light heavyweight. Everybody thought that light heavyweight is gonna be really cooked. But right now they have Makhachev Ankalaev, they have Alex Pereira, they have Jer Prochazka, they have Carlos Ulber, they have Bogdan Guskov, and right now they have Nikita Warkov, Johnny Walker. I mean, there's some really rough rank riders because
Roundtree too.
Yeah,
Jamal Hill.
Exactly, because those are a decent new blood or someone established from another weight division that can easily move up for the belt rank. But they has a pretty good way around the fighters. But I mean that Alex Pereira, Jacob Prochazka, I mean, they have much experience because I know that it's challenge for every years because they wouldn't never the guess for the top 10 if the Johnny can stay for the rest of the target hasn't changed either. But this is gonna be like the strongest division. But this happened to be like so long. But he stands up, it looks like he's really improved because the people that say that he cannot throw like a proper punch or a combo unless it is gathered or wear precisions, but they made like a division like very interesting, but also it has to take KO, which is very important. I mean, they almost kicked a knee down for a down opponent twice, but shaving his take they actually were because he thought it was gonna be like a Dagestan, but he got O'Malley because if you remember Marlon Vera versus Sean O'Malley, and then he took like a foot slam to the knee, and it just it's not like a bad luck to the nerve to just like the day that Sean O'Malley did.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you. And just I Ming Yang, I was saying his name wrong. I apologize.
Yeah,
because Ming Yang was on a nice little streak, and he was fighting in China, but Johnny Walker disrupted all his dreams. He put a pause on everything. He said, "Nope, not today." Knocked him out. So it's I'm interested to see. Well, let me ask you this: who should Johnny Walker fight next?
Oh, this is gonna be like a really interesting. But I thought with a light heavyweight is gonna be like a really interesting. But after that, I just saw like all of the rankings coming out there. I think he might be gonna be like a really chance to be like I don't know against Dominic Reyes or Jamal Hill.
Well, Dominic Reyes has a fight coming up, I believe, in a month.
Yeah.
So Jamal Hill might not be a bad fight because Jamal Hill's, I think, lost 2 or 3 in a row. Jamal Hill needs a win. If Johnny Walker could beat Jamal Hill, he gets in the top 10. And now he's back in the conversation. Because you're right. I mean, he just fought Magomed Ankalaev. He's fought the champion, you know? So a lot can happen in the UFC. You can go from here to here.
Oh, there you go.
A lot can happen. You never know what could happen in UFC.
Yeah, a lot of going to happen right now. But I really think because they know how they got to the proper something like that. But it seems that if they had to do like something with a knockout, then they have it like it's not gonna be like a really a time, but they're gonna be like at some redemption. But they keep like it has to remember that Johnny Walker is like the chinnest guy at the roster, but also he has the biggest wild card simply to do like the athleticism, the style, because they just broke like they're losing Main Street. Because I know that all over those years, we've been seeing a lot of bad luck from Brazilian fighters. Because, for example, Alex Pereira lost the title against Michael Alacambe. And then months later, they have Johnny Walker winning big in Shanghai, China against Sean Ming, and they just losing at the main streak, the main event streak, which is like, it's not going to be like a gamble strap, but they sure they had to go for it because this is time of the band because it's going to be like a knock it out in front of the crowd with a friendly schedule with this leg hit is all a bit. I mean, they get like a new contender.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Yep. And speaking about that, because we can talk about like, well, maybe it's something like in Shanghai, but because I know the crowd in Shanghai, it was like really, really good because there was like the fights coming up there in Shanghai, which is like, I know it's
Did you stay up for the fight? Did you wake up?
Yeah, I know that I just woke up like it because I know that I just grabbed a coffee, then I just woke up, and then I just watching like all the fights. But there's one fight that I was like getting really interesting for because it's not only Johnny Walker versus Sean McCann, but also which is see like the preliminary card and the main card, which is at the welterweight, Tagilaki Nojaki versus Kiefer Crosby. Also, there's Sergey Pavlovich versus Walter Cortez Acosta. Now, I understand because Walter Cortez Acosta was like really, really, really big. But between for like this fight against Sergey Pavlovich, I mean, they have the towers at the center because that was just like an easy win for Pavlovich. But
Yeah,
they really stole.
Yeah, I think that Waldo, which I'm a big fan of, he got to understand there's another level of competition. He's been getting some really good wins under his belt, looking good. But Sergey was probably the first, top 5 opponent that he's really had to face, and I think he's going to be able to go back to his training camp and to his coaches and say, okay, this is what we need to do moving forward in order to get into that top 5. So I'm not. I think that some fights when you lose, you win because you can learn. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense a lot.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at Waldo Acosta's. I was trying to remember who he fought before Sergey, and I know it was a pretty good win. Oh, he fought Spivak, and Spivak was pretty good too. And that was a decision, and I thought he needed a decision win to kind of show, hey, do you have the cardio? But here it was an interesting fight because he got to see another 3 rounds, which gives you a lot more experience for his next fight.
Yeah, I know that I just get it. And between for like this one, but I understand that Sergey Pavlovich, they just won against, Walter Cortez Acosta, and he just faced against Jose Struglik. He went against Curtis Blaze, Tai Tabasa, Derek Lewis, all over for this time. But between for like the division of heavyweight, because they're not always like it being like some seems to suck or they're getting stuck. But after we just saw like the John Jones case and Tom Aspinall, because they don't want to see like those heavyweights, because the heavyweight division, they're like kind of weird and kind of weird. But the amount of the people who are like 6'3" and more than 200 pounds are probably weird, because if you work at MMA, it became like really open because there's a wider pool of heavyweights to fight each other. Because most of those guys are really heavy enough to fight a heavyweight. Either had to like a bodybuilder or just like an oversized, because they have like the skill. Because those guys that have size and athletic, that pays you a lot because
Mhm.
those elite athletes, which is like at a heavyweight, they're really weird because once they get punched in the face by four penis or even more, they're weird, but they're not making it like more than saving money, not getting a punch in the face. I remember when Thomas Pinol said that, well, months before, because if you look 5+ years ago, just like the main value of the top 15 was incredible because they're talking about Fabricio Berton, Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos, Mark Hunt, Alistair Overeem, Steve Miocic, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Because if they need to sign more heavyweight from the other organizations, like homegrown, like bantamweight and lightweight, are possible, because there's many of them with such a limited number of heavyweights, they're sabotaging but trying to build it up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I understand what you're saying because back back in the day there was a lot of like big names, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That you just named right now, during the Cain Velasquez days. So I think right now they're still trying to build all the heavyweights, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They just wanted to get the bill about it. But I know the heavyweight is supposed to be like among the division, but it seems like they have become repaired because if all those guys are really heavily invested, because they have a lot of years coming like missing in action, because those bad guys wouldn't end up for the fight in Espinal. Jones would have enough for the fighting for sure, and then Francis Ngannou is relegated. So essentially, we have a division with somehow none of the top guys into the facing each other, which is almost unheard of the UFC because everyone just wanted to end up with being like a tomato cans without everything. But I really understand about like the situation, what's happening at the heavyweight division, because I know that some persons that just wanted to like really missed up the point.
Mhm.
But in the fact about that, because I just wanted to see like John Jones versus Alex Pereira if John Jones doesn't retire, because I just wanted to see like the super fight
Yeah.
between John Jones versus Alex Pereira at the white, because I would love to see that because that's what the people know. But the business and Dana White, because they only care about for the money, they just wanted to put it in and say, let's just make John Jones retire and let's just make Tom Aspinall become a champion. But right now, the Nets band is gonna be like a really huge, because this is gonna be like one of those last times, because this is gonna be in Abu Dhabi, which is United Arab Emirates, in October 25, which they have Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. If if Cyril Gane who win against Tom Aspinall, so the heavyweight division is gonna be like something very interesting to bring it back again.
Yeah. I mean, if Sarl Gane beats Tom Aspinall, John Jones is going to be laughing. He's going to say, I told you. He wasn't, he doesn't, he's not on the same level as me. So I'm really hoping that John Jones stays out of trouble, because John Jones' biggest threat is himself. If that stuff wouldn't have came up with the court and him getting pulled over and him being on shrooms, he probably would have fought Tom Aspinall. But since he had to go to court, he had to go do this, he just wasn't reliable. So I really hope he stays out of trouble. I really do.
Yeah, I know. There's going to be like something interesting. All right. So next topic we're talking about, because
Who else is fighting on that card? Isn't there another heavyweight that's fighting on that card?
yes. It's going to be like another heavyweight, which is, I almost forgot, which is Alexander Volkov versus Jayton Almeida.
That's
And
a good
only
fight too. I like that. Jayton Almeida, because he's on the rise. I think he's Brazilian too.
Yeah, but also because all over for the UFC 321 is going to be like Abu Dhabi, but also they have 3 fights on heavyweight. Because not only is Thomas Aspinall versus Cyril Gane, but also there was Alexander Volkov versus Shelton Almeida, and Andy Aliwa versus Chris Barnett. Chris Barnett, which is the beast boy from Zaragoza. And he was like the heavyweight in super weight, which is like, wow, because if you guys remember when he just lost against Kennedy Muchinobu in UFC 308, And then he just won it against Jay Collier, just like months before. That was just like really interesting because they have 3 fights on heavyweights, which is gonna be like super interesting to see how
Yeah.
the division of the heavyweights is gonna be like depending on those
Right.
fighters.
How it's gonna like set up everything else. And I think Volkov lost his last fight. And so Volk, it's gonna be that's gonna be a good fight too. I like that one.
Yep, we are gonna like that one. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we just wanted to have another topic that we just wanted to discuss right now. All right, so if you guys remember Islam Makhachev, which is Makhachev, which is like the current champion, and listening to all through these wars, because he just explained why United States athletes, like current UFC champions, they live for the sport. Because check this out, because not only is currently prepared for achieve like a second weight class title against, well, setting the record number of light heavyweight, well, lightweight titles, because remember when he just saying word by word, like this way or this way. Then. So let's just say for all those words coming to continue to something like that, because the women's bantamweight champion, Kelly Harrison, is the only reigning American-born UFC champion.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because we have Merab Dvalishvili, Andre Pantoja, they have, well, Michael Ankalaev, because they just seem like that's the reason that some of those fights, some of those fighters in the United States, they're liking about championship because they know how to relate each other. Because I understand about the situation in Islam Makhachev, because I really thought this is gonna be like something like, okay, so this is gonna be like something that if they need to change it a lot, they need to change it a lot for because all over this time, because if they need to something like to prove each other as a team, but of course it would depend for the athletes, for the skills, because it's gonna be like the same for the boxing, because they have lacking champions in the United States because they have to really dominate sport.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, when you look at it, what the UFC has done really well is they have built their organization across the world, unlike the NFL. If you go to the NFL, you go to the NBA, you're going to get your best players are going to be here in the United States, So in this organization, in this sport, what's so unique about it is how you have champions across the world. And we just kind of had named behind the scenes all the champions that are not from the United States. But a lot of them will be fighting, Joshua Van might be fighting Alexander Pantoja. Corey Sandhagen's going to be fighting Merab. I was trying to think of the other divisions of who is, a United States. Bilal Muhammad. He's from Chicago. Sean Strickland was a champion too. He's from out of Las Vegas. But I just think it goes to show you how well the UFC has done in every part of the world. Every country has had a champion. Brazil, Europe, Australia. We can probably go down the list. Russia,
Russia, yep.
So I mean, I think it's. I actually that's why I love the UFC because of that reason.
Yeah, and of course, why Islam Makhachev explains it at all, because I understand that for me, it's about the culture is important, because if you look at the Olympic wrestling results, because they're not like an Olympic committees that have a huge funding winning medals, because the populations are fairly average to small, but the sport, it could be really massive in those areas, because almost no one under 155 pounds is making it other sports, because fighting, it's not isn't seen like a respectable career in the West so much, because it's not seen really acceptable to put kids on that path at an early age, because they don't want it to see a brain damage for a couple of thousand. That's one of the reasons, because that sports is not very well paid, because the majority of an American athletes simply just choose like in another sports. Like, why you get the punch in the face at a few grand when you play like in a far larger sport for way more money? Like the pay doesn't even like to close what Dana White offers. And also there's a narrative you can make it on the big sport, you just get a job. Take for example, Dominic Reyes tried to make it in football, but the D1 not, because then they start fighting, because that's not the part of the lot of the athletes in America, because I understand that it's just being like a poor natural cycle of things, because they have regions that dominate for a little bit, but also they have also superior for someone else, because Americans will come champions again. It will be just like another cycle, because at some point that region will be either or be beaten, but also they have the concentration of champs or top fighters, because so honestly they have more consistently. But it goes like wherever see, because they just wanted to get dominated. What was gonna be like a really decent or not? Because they had to be something like they just wanted to not very large it at all. Because if now we can lose it right now, I mean they just started with the Senate or because of the reason. Because they don't want it to worry if they wanted to compete good or they want to compete bad, because they have to be under the guys, because their responsibility is bringing up those athletes, because they know exactly what they're going to do, because it's a cycle, and it will make it the way back to the Americans, Brazilians, Nigerians, and multiple champs to the simple town. Now there's going to be like a turn, because why they have it is not about the culture, it's not even the national sports, because they had to be true to the made of, because they had to something like, because take it for another example. If LeBron James plays soccer, because they're probably going to cramp off with the 48-minute basketball, because besides for like the athleticism, the size they had to the length, because that depends how to be most dominated. And the size and height and length, they're like a factor in MMA because of the weight class, because the skill, the points, the hunger, what is necessary.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you. It's a cycle. I agree with that, because in a year from now, we could be talking about 2 or 3 new champions that, from this or here, United States. John Jones is back. So, no, I agree with you on that, making a lot of good points. I was going to ask you, I think I told you this last time, I really love your intro.
Oh, yes, because that's one of those intros that I just create by like Adobe, Photoshop, and of course I just made like from Premiere Pro.
Really?
And it just went, yeah, because it's somehow because not many people has very talented, because I know that I've been studying like journalism and graphic design, because I had to do like really something, because in that time that I was studying by journalism, I just wanted to like decide to like edit some videos, add some graphic designs, and of course, you just wanted to put her like really different styles besides for now.
Yeah, and then the music. Where did you get the music from?
Yeah, the music that I just came from, because there was like, because it really hard to find to look at the music with no copyright, and then when I just figured it out, it's like, what is the best I can do like at the music without copyright? So I just wanted to take it like something like to find out like some beats in the hip hop, or I just wanted to call like one of those friends who had some beats to like let's yeah.
No, that's cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But also between for the like, because I just wanted to tell you there's like a bunch of reasons that some of those Americans, they have no idea what they're thinking about it. Because I understand they're lacking of champions, but there are like a bunch of reasons. There is like culture, there is financial state, there is trends, there is history, but the fighting sports are a very high level of prestige, because it's tied both to like the masculine culture, but also for the traditions, because wrestling has local ethnic and cultural roots. For example, if you guys remember, Moragda was Sheila before he was a champion. He was training in a local Georgian wrestling style that is added cultural heritage, value, and prestige to it. The financial aspect is gonna be really important, but they had this do like a good money. But the more that it's said, the motivation had to do it. Because if you said from the very beginning, like what are the most powerful fighters? Because if they had like a one job to fighting for their rights, I mean, they're not gonna be like something in trouble because it's not gonna be like something that it's gonna be like a big time fighter because you had to train a lot of more because it doesn't matter if you're white, black, Native American, Hispanic, or Asian because you have to do something better for the culture and the tradition because if you have a lot of experiment, if you have a lot of experience in wrestling and of course Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, this is the time to make up. This is the time to prove that your culture and your, of course, the tradition, it works a lot more to beat the odds.
Yeah, I mean, you're right because even the Brazilian fighters, right? You're trying to beat the odds. That's why a lot of them go to the jiu-jitsu camps, kickboxing, because of the poverty.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a lot of this one. All right, so I was watching like the Dana White Contender Series, which is like really interesting because some people they say that they really piss me off because they're making blanching mismatches, so they had to already decide to cut out the highlight. But I know there's organization knows there's like a never end father like Miller would do anything for like the work of the job for the center to beat up because I know there are some fighters could be like the youngest generation, but they need to train a lot, including for those finishes. But this is not gonna be like something like replacement for something like that. But they know how to do this training because they wanted to land it. Because I've been seeing like a lot of prospects coming up there, but they just wanted to work it in with the knockouts or submissions. And they just wanted to start to get training with a wrestling coach, which is really matters for a lot. If you wanted to start like to building up, like if you want to be part of the Dana White Contender Series, make sure you get to make sure you're gonna hire a wrestling coach. Make sure.
So you're saying if you want to get onto that series with Dana White, make sure you have some type of wrestling in your background.
Exactly.
At least go train. Start training wrestling.
Yeah, they was wanted to try training wrestling, and of course, they need to learn about the power of the clinch because not many fighters can do it like this. Because I know that I've been seeing like some prospects, they have a lot of experience in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but they forgot about the clinch power. I mean, it's not like the matting shit like that. I mean, you had to do working anything better.
And what advantage does that give you as a fighter when you have the clinch power? Like, it helps you with control, or explain it to me?
Well, if they had to do something like really for the control, because I know there's like some fighters that had to do about it, but there are some fighters that can do like with the clinch. I mean, if you do like basically most fighters are getting like the tight clinch, wiping it off with his arms. Because if you see like the fight about Dustin Poirier, Mac Hughes, because they was like with the game plan to rip it off with the body thing short, they do like the damage and give it like the opportunity to break up the clinch and avoid to the grappling exchange. And I learned about that because I understand that not only I was a former Karate Do champion, but also I was like, because I was playing UFC 4 like last night, and then I learned about like how there gonna be advantage or disadvantage for being like the clinch. But if you look like the career of Dustin Poirier, he's extremely offensive striker. Not to mention that to say this offensive was bad, but he always choose like to really focus on his offense, even with his getting teed off, with his own quirk, like everything. Because if you had your own limitations to be pulling stuff like this off, because if you had good short hooks, this might be gonna work it. Because if you had to go work it, it's Blanket and Lisa in the middle, generate the offense. If they're gonna to lift the elbows, it is supposed to higher ribs to tend to hold when did they crack it? But also the problem, if you generate a respectable power in those hooks that you need, like to get up with a knee if the still can wall, but also they can have the opponent to try to clinch to take that.
All right, I'm following you. I got you. So that's the advice for the guys. You're giving some advice to the guys that are like trying to get in the Dana White Contender Series.
Yep, exactly. Exactly what we need it for. All right,
Gotcha.
so I know this is gonna be like a really interesting, but we have 37 minutes. But I know that I had to go to the bed right now because I know that tomorrow is gonna be like really important. So thank you, West Coast Radio, to proving us, and of course because we have a Tuesday night debate with the MMA Homies podcast. So remember, make sure to subscribe to Capitan Rafucho on YouTube, and of course, make sure to follow the MMA Homies podcast as is known as Twitter at the MMA Homies.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on too, bro. Appreciate it. Yeah, I want to come back once a month.
Yep, it's gonna be like a once a month because the next month, which is on September, we can make like something like really different.
Do you stream every night?
Tell me.
Do you stream every night or once a week? How often do you stream?
Well, I stream like once a week. It depends. It depends. But if they have like a football or UFC that had to go for like the previews and the reviews. It all depends.
Okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying. So you do 2 shows if you got to do the pre and then the post.
And the post, yeah, the pre-game and the post.
Right, that makes sense.
All right.
So this week we don't have any UFC, so it's just maybe once a week. Once a week.
Yeah, once a week. Yeah,
And do you usually stream for 30 minutes or usually stream for an hour?
Well, basically I just stream for like 30, 40, or even 1 hour, or 1 hour. It all depends for like the topics that they just wanted to generalize.
Got you. Okay. Now I understand kind of, your format. So
yes, I know for the formats. All right, yeah. So thank you very much. We're out of here. So thank you very much. And of course, make sure to subscribe to Capitan Rafucho and the MMA Homies podcast. So
thank you.
I just wanted to tell you, have a good night and have a cute Tuesday. So thank you very much. We're out of here right now. Peace out.